Update. Interesting update. So, we're back where it all started. Anyway, so, reading the book, I was bored for a minute, but I'm back at it again. And so, I forgot who George Noyce was. Because you know how in books when they start explaining characters and you're like, do I need to remember this individual? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But George Noyce was somebody I was supposed to remember because Teddy was talking about him earlier, saying like, oh yeah, he was considered crazy or whatever, and he was admitted into the hospital place, but then he went to jail. He was like, I'd rather be in prison than, whatever. And Teddy was like, he was totally sane last time I saw him, but the last time he had a conversation with him, he was crazy as fuck, and he was back in the mental institution. And he's like, oh shit. And he tells him, Teddy, this is all for you, boo. Like, da-da-da-da. He tells him about the lighthouse and how they are doing brain surgeries on people, like illegal test surgeries and on people's brains to make them crazy and stuff. And anyway. And then also, he's like, have you ever been alone this whole time? And then Teddy's like, yeah, something like that. And he's like, I've been with my partner. He's like, your partner. Have you ever really been alone, though? And then Teddy starts thinking Chuck is suspicious. And honestly, I really like Chuck, so I was like, there's no way, right? And then they was walking and they was either climbing these mountains or whatever. And Teddy is like talking to Chuck, and Chuck is like, yeah, kiki, whatever. Chuck said something in French. And Teddy was like, what's that? And he was like, oh, nothing. I just like, I learned French or I know a little bit of French because I like theater or whatever. He said something. And then he was like, yeah, it was a little small group of people, da-da-da. And then Teddy was like, do you know a Joe? And he was like, a Joe? What you talking about? Can't lie, he was acting shifty. Like, in that moment, I was like, Chuck, you acting real shifty. Because he kept asking about this Joe. He was like, this Joe. Chuck is like, I know a lot of Joes. He's like, yeah, but you said it was a small group of people. You said it was a tight, Yeah, Chuck was acting mad suspicious. And I can't lie, in that moment, I was like, Chuck, what you doing, baby? Like, why you acting suspicious? But to be fair, Teddy, you wasn't being all the way honest about some shit either. In the beginning about what your motivations was for coming here. So it was just like, let me have my one little secret thing too. Plus, I don't know who this Joe character is. I don't know if Joe is somebody earlier in the book that I'm supposed to be remembering because I don't. But I'm like, who the fuck is Joe? But anyway, Chuck was dodging the fuck out of that. Anyway, he was like, I have some papers of, what's his name? He was like, Andrew's like medical, like whatever stuff. And Teddy's like, no, it's okay, you can keep it. And Chuck is like, you don't want it? He was like, mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, okay, that's weird, but all right, fine. And then later on, Teddy's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go climb this thing and go count these rocks. I was like, okay. Chuck's like, I'm not coming with you to count rocks, so I'm gonna sit here. And then Teddy do the thing. He come back. He thought Chuck was dead. Now for a minute there, I was like, Chuck's not dead, is he? I was like, there's no way that he's about to be dead, and you thought he was suspicious. Anyway, he's not dead though. It was some rocks or whatever. He was like, oh, it looked like a body, but he was like, he's not dead. He picked up the little paper. He was like, oh, okay, cool. Maybe Chuck's fine. But he can't find Chuck. He's like, Chuck, where you at? He's screaming, Chuck. Chuck is nowhere to be found. But he finds this lady up there, the real Rachel Solando. That was the crazy part about the whole thing, because I didn't think this was about Rachel like that. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, when they said they found Rachel, which I thought they was lying about at first, and then he met Rachel and all that, I was like, okay, she's crazy like everybody else. What's the game? And I didn't think it was ever gonna come back to Rachel, but Rachel isn't even the Rachel that we thought Rachel was. Get what I'm saying? Rachel up in a cave, and she's sitting there and she's like, oh hey, what's up? And he's like, yeah, anyway, da-da-da-da. He's talking his ass off. She's like, yeah, you don't leave. And then she tells him all about the medical, like the surgeries and shit. And she's like, oh yeah, but I'm crazy though. She's like, everything I say is crazy, because once they say I'm crazy, if I tell you this and that, I'm still crazy. Like, it doesn't matter what they say, because that's what they think. That's what they got you thinking. You know what I mean? And she was like, you've been drinking the water, you've been eating the food, you took a pill here, you've been smoking the cigarettes. They got you. And he was like, and he tried to lie too, because he was like, no, I've been smoking my own. Yeah, no, yeah, she did. He tried to lie. Mind you, he still hasn't found Chuck. After that, he falls asleep in the little cave with Rachel. It was glitching for a minute. I hope the audio's still connected. Anyway, he falls asleep in the cave that Rachel was in, and she waking him up. She's like, you gotta go. Like, and he's like, oh, well, where can I find you? She's like, I be moving. Like, you gotta go. Like, you can't sleep. You gotta go, because they looking for you, and they think I'm dead. They not gonna find me, but they gonna find you. So just go ahead. You know what I mean? And he's like, all right, cool. Anyway, he walked back up to the, everything, and he see everybody, and he's like, okay, cool. They're like, where you been at? He was like, oh, I was taking a stroll, because he got to lie a little bit. And he was like, I was taking a stroll. They're like, He talked to this real weird dude, like the warden. Like, he talked to him. That warden was tripping me up. I was like, no way. Like, but is the warden a woman? There was something about that that's just off. And then he starts talking to Kali, and the part that gets me real bad, because he said, oh, yeah, so they're like, oh, so now that Rachel is found, the Rachel that they tried to lie with, the one, he was like, anyway, y'all gonna be leaving, right? He's like, yeah, he's like, y'all gonna be catching the first ferry out. He was like, yeah. And then Teddy's like, yeah, if somebody wake us up. And Kali's like, yeah, we'll wake y'all up. We'll wake y'all up. And then he's like, why you said us? And he's like, what you mean us? He's like, actually, yeah, where is Chuck? He's like, who's Chuck? He's like, come on now, stop playing. Like, it was in that moment where I was like, Kali, come be fucking for real. Like, I don't care what they say, and I don't care if they try to spin Teddy as crazy or whatever. Chuck is not imaginary. Like, I don't care. I'm not that far yet. That's right about where I stop, where he says, you came here alone, Marshall. No, babes. I did not. Chuck exists. I don't care what it is. I do not think Chuck is the villain of the story. I do not think Chuck is made up. I don't care what they say. I don't even care if I end the book and they say, it was all in my head. No. Chuck was real, okay? If anything, Teddy is the fake one, okay? That's just what I'm going to say off rip. But he acting like, Kali, I just think that was like a really ridiculous moment with that. Because he going, who's Chuck? I would have been like, stop playing with me. Stop playing with me. Because come on, you know what I'm talking about. He's sitting there saying, who? You know what I'm talking about. Like, that was the part that got me. Because I was like, Kali, stop. Like, it was in that moment where I was like, okay, Kali, be fucking for real. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's where I'm at. That's where I've ended. I was getting so bored though, because like there was like a middle point where the juice like wasn't overflowing. It was kind of after the Rachel situation where they found Rachel. That was the last time I was entertained. And then when I got up to this point, I was like, oh yes, this is good. So I'm back entertained again. But for a minute there, I was like, pick the pace up, you know what I mean? But I'm towards the end of the book anyway. I would show you my progress, but I don't have the book here with me. But I would show you my progress. I'm towards the end. I'm in the 250 zone-ish, maybe 60. I'm somewhere around there, and there's like 360 odd pages, some odd pages. So I'm like, I'm almost done. But it's really fun now, and I'm getting really entertained. Honestly, the beginnings of a book are usually super boring for me because it's like the world building part of it that's kind of like not super entertaining to me. I like the middle spot towards the end because it's like that's when it gets the juiciest. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Continue the journey with me, but I just have to tell you where my progress. All right, so I'm gonna go now, and I heard a sound over here. I really hope I have to go then. Anyway, bye. My camera was like not counting time. Anyway, hello. So, I'm reading the book, right? Where did I last tell you I was? Oh, yeah, he still can't find Chuck, and he's like, whatever, I'm gonna go look for homeboy, and he was trying to escape the island, and they're like, don't let his ass get away, and like, calling everybody's out there, the warden, they're like, shoot him, don't let him get close, and Chuck is trying to escape, he's running away, he gets to a lighthouse, he's like, I'm gonna find Chuck, and everything, and he's doing the whole shebang. I haven't gotten much farther. This is my progress so far. This is all I have left to read. This little piece here. Yeah, so he's trying to get away, and he was swimming through the water, doing all the things. It was a lot. So, but the part that gets me, the part that's killing me, hold on, I'm going to show you. Like I said, he was swimming, right? So he gets to the lighthouse, and Kali's in there, and he says, this is the words that comes out of Kali's mouth to Teddy. Who? I read that and I went to sleep. I was like, who is baby? Who are you talking to? This is Kali talking to Teddy. Teddy was swimming. His clothes, he come in the thing, he walk into the lighthouse. Kali's in there saying, what? Who? Who are you talking to? Because I know you're not talking to me. My God. That I had to go to bed. I was like, I'm done. Okay, yeah. I read enough for the night. And that was the end of it anyway. That was the end of the chapter. I was like, yeah, I'm going to bed. Huh?